I want to share with you a story that I just heard this week. There was a survivor of the Holocaust, and on the day that they were freed by the American troops from their concentration camp, this chassid, who was a chassid of the Kloisenberger Rebbe, who was in the same camp with him, when everyone was going crazy, they're free at last, the Rebbe gathered a number of the remaining survivors, and he said, "We have a big mitzvah to do." Unfortunately, there were Jewish bodies just strewn around the camp, and he said, "We must do our best to give them a proper Jewish burial." So they went and they gathered as many bodies as they could, and then there was a Christian cemetery, a non-Jewish cemetery in the city. It was somewhere near Munich, and they went and they negotiated to purchase a corner of the cemetery. These people who were unfortunately more dead than alive put together some kind of a wall to fence off their section of the cemetery, and they went and they buried people that they all knew. These are fellow concentration camp, unfortunately not non-survivors. Buried them, and then they went on with their life. Eventually, this chassid and his Rebbe made their way to Eretz Yisrael. For years and years and years, he was haunted by the memory of taking those people and doing the burial. It's a great kindness, but it was just traumatic, burying people that you know with your own hands. Many, many years later, probably more than 30 years later, he found himself in London attending a wedding, and he met a chassid whose name was Rabbi Glick, who was sent by the Rebbe on many different missions in Europe, to Spain and different places. And they met for the first time, and Rabbi Glick is telling this Kloisenberger chassid how wonderful, how amazing, how great the Lubavitcher Rebbe is. So this chassid says, "Tell me, what's so great about the Rebbe? What impresses you so much?" So Rabbi Glick said, "Let me tell you a story that happened with me and the Rebbe not very long ago. I got a phone call from one of the Rebbe's secretaries saying as follows: the Rebbe wants you to do him a favor, and he promises you that if you complete this favor, he promises you Olam Haba, a reward in the world to come. Are you ready to do it?" Without knowing what the mission was, Rabbi Glick said, "Absolutely." And then the secretary continued and said, "This is what the Rebbe is asking for. Outside of Munich, there's a cemetery, a non-Jewish cemetery, and in the corner there's a section where a number of people who died in the Holocaust are buried. And unfortunately, the walls that separate their section from the rest of the cemetery have come down. And for the sake of the souls that are of the people buried there, the Rebbe would like you to go and figure out a way to build a proper wall separating that section of the cemetery, the Jewish section." This Kloisenberger chassid, who was the one who actually helped create that cemetery, and with his own hands had buried so many people there, turned white as a ghost. And he said, how could it be that the Lubavitcher Rebbe living in Brooklyn, New York is aware of this cemetery and the fallen wall and the torment that the souls are experiencing, and he's doing something about it? So Noach is referred to as a great tzaddik. He's the only person in the whole Torah, that's in the whole 24 books, who's referred to as a tzaddik. Yet we know there's a little criticism of Noach, that although he saved all the animals and he saved his 3 children and he saved his wife and his daughters-in-law, he didn't seem to do enough to save those around him. In this story you see the sensitivity of the Rebbe to those who have passed on 30, 40 years ago, to see what he can do for the peace of their souls. So may we learn a lesson to reach out of ourselves a little bit and help those around us and make their lives better, and that way bring Mashiach. Have a great week.